rules is the password. Okay, in the last session we discussed about the table creation, property creation under the work class. So generally, whenever we create a property rule under the work classes, so again these rules can be reused inside a user interface. So once after creating a property rule inside a work classes, so then these can be reused inside the user interface rules. So inside the user interface, so we can use the properties under a section rule. Okay, so for designing purpose means when we design a form, so just we have to drag and drop this property inside the user interface section rule. Okay, so first of all we'll see what are the different types of components we have under the user interface rule type. We'll see. So user interface is a rule type. Under this, so or we can say, so what are the components under the user interface means, so we have section is one of the important component because the design from the user interface will start from the section rule. Then after the section we'll create a flaction rules. Sometimes we'll use harness, we'll use navigation rules, so like this. So these are some of the important rules. So we have something like controls and all. So maximum controls and all already predefined in the section itself, or if you take layouts and all, so skills, layouts and all, so which are already predefined in the section itself. Okay, so these are some of the important user interface components. So first of all we'll see so about the section and flaction rules, because so in the coming sessions we'll get the other options inside the user interface. So right now, so we have to first concentrate on the, because the design starts with the section and the flaction only. Okay, in the coming sessions we'll discuss about the other user interface components. So first of all, coming to the section rule here. So section is mainly used for designing the forms, for design purpose, or for designing of the forms in the application. We are going to use the section rule, and just we have to, so inside the section it comes with all default controls, and section comes with default controls and layouts in order to design the section, right? So by default we'll get all the layouts and controls are predefined here. So based on the purpose and requirement, means how you want to do the design in the form, so we have to use the layouts, and inside the layouts we will use the controls. Okay, so controls are nothing but like drop down, calendar, radio button, text boxes, okay, menu bars, images, okay, so check boxes, all these are nothing but controls in PRPC. Okay, now so how to open a section means, so just go to user interface rule type, just select the section, so it will open a section rule. And I told you section contains different types of layouts. So basically inside a section all the layouts are predefined, right? So section contains different types of layouts here. So what are the types of layouts available are, by default when you open a new section, dynamic layout is a default layout. Okay, so the first layout is, so the default or the first type of layout mostly used is dynamic layout, and other types of layouts are smart layout, freeform, repeating, column layout, tabbed layout. Okay, so these are some of the important layout types. Means layouts means what, it's like a combination of rows and columns. Okay, so it will be in the combination of rows and columns. If you want rows, or in the runtime if you want to add columns, we can add, means it's like a table format. Inside these layouts are nothing but, you can also call it as tables also, we can call. So inside these tables, so where you want to add the properties, in which area, means in under which row we want to add a property, in which column you want to add a property. So because again the layouts will be with different templates will be there. If you take a dynamic layout, so like again we'll have some different templates and formats will be there. And if you take a smart layout, it comes with fixed template. Okay, we cannot change the existing fixed template. It comes with a fixed template. If this is suitable for your requirement, you can go with this layout. And freeform means, so it will be our own user defined templates we can define. So any type of template we can define using the freeform. And repeating contains some different types of row repeat, column repeat, grid repeat. So like different types of repeating means, so dynamic layouts, like repeating layouts are like, so in the runtime we can add rows and columns repeatedly. Okay, and column layout, if you want to divide the page into different columns. And tabbed layout, if you want to divide the, means if you want to add any number of tabs, we can use a tabbed layout. Okay, so like this, so all the layouts are predefined and all the templates are predefined. So which template or which layout is suitable for your requirement, we have to choose the layout type while designing the forms. And after adding the layout, inside the layouts only we are going to drag and drop the properties. Okay, what are the properties we created under the data model work class? So those properties we are going to add inside these layouts. And for these properties we are going to set controls. For example, for one property we can set as a text box, for other property we can set as a drop down. So based on that, so what are the requirement we get, accordingly we have to set controls for the properties. Okay, so first of all I'll open that one and I will show you. So this is only introduction only. From the Monday session we'll have a actual practicals on again all these topics. So this is just an introduction. I will only cover the just overview of this section, so not in depth of this. So first of all we will see how to create a section rule. So once after adding a property, so the next step is you can start creating a section. So if you go to user interface rule type, you can see a rule called section. Select that one. So when you open this section rule, so for every rule we have to give a name. Okay, so give some label for this. So any rule if you open, it will open in a work panel. Okay, give a name for this section. So we should not give spaces, you can give underscores or anything, but spaces are not allowed between the names. And anyway these sections will create inside a rule set only. So inside the application, inside this sample class, under the rule set, and generally inside a rule set, so I told you, so every rule inside the rule set, again based on the rule type there will be some class instance will be there. So yesterday we created a property. Properties contains a rule set name, class instance name as rule obj property. So all the properties, what are the properties we are creating in the application, will be saved inside this class instance. Similarly, if we create a section inside the application, so generally sections are saved under rule html section. Under this class instance, all the section rules will be saved inside the rule set. Inside this class instance, all the section rules will get saved. Okay, So like this, every rule contains some class instance in the backend. So under the class instance, all the property rules are inside this class instance, all the section rules will get saved. So like this, so coming based on the rule type, I will tell you. So what is the class instance for each and every rule, I will tell you. So now when you open a section rule, right, so by default we'll get this page like this. So coming to the options here, I told you when we open a new section, by default we'll get a dynamic layout as a default one. Okay, so by default we'll get dynamic layout. So later, suppose if you don't want to dynamic layout, and if you want to change the layout type to any of the other types, so we can choose from the, so there are other types of layouts are there: smart, freeform, repeating, column, tab. If you want to choose any other type of layout in the section, so if you go to the, here you can see a layout menu is there. So under this you have some other options. So here first option is a layout option. So this purpose is to, if you want to select any other layout, and one more thing is, in a single section you can add any number of layouts. Okay, not only one layout. In this section we can use any type of layout, means we can use multiple layouts in a single section. Okay, we can use dynamic layout in the same page, we can use smart layout, we can use freeform, we can use repeating, we can use, means according to the requirement, means how to design the form according to the requirement. So in a single section we can add multiple layouts in this page. But how to add a other layouts? For example, if you want to add a repeating layout or tab layout, so how to add a layout? Okay, actually here we have a, under the layout menu we can see the layout option, first option. So but if you click on this option, nothing will happen. So if you click on that layout, so that nothing will happen, no action is performed. So what we have to do is, we have to drag and drop this, because layouts can be so added anywhere. Suppose before this, if you want to add, we have to drag and drop, because we have to give the position of the layout in this page. So that's the reason. So the, by just clicking this option we cannot add a new layout. So what we have to do is, so we have to select this, means click on this layout, and we have to drag and drop. So we have to drag the position of the layout, whether in before this layout or inside the layout. Also we can add few layouts inside dynamic layout. So generally we can add dynamic layouts, repeating, and this one column layouts we can add. Okay, or outside this layout if you want to add, means, so you will get an orange line like this. So where you want to place the position of this layout, so just drag into the page. So now suppose after this layout if you want to add, means, now release the option. So you can see the options here, layout options you'll get. So which layout you want to select, so whether dynamic layout or smart layout, repeating layout, column layout, or freeform layout. Okay, in the runtime I will tell you about each, and practically we will be working on all these types. Okay, but in a single session it is not possible. So whenever we start the sessions from Monday, so day by day we'll be using all these types. Okay, so now I'm not going to cover all the types. Okay, just I'll give the idea about these layouts. Okay, so actually every layout contains its own template. For example, smart layout contains some fixed templates, so we cannot change the template. So it comes with a single, double, and triple, like 3 types of templates will be there. So we can use based on the requirement. Single means what? Means in a single row we can add one property. So generally just click on OK. So once you click on OK, smart layout gets added here. And similarly, if you want to add one more layout, suppose after smart layout I want to add a next one. Suppose repeating contains, again some types will be there. Okay, most of the time we'll use the grid repeat we'll use, or repeat dynamic layout we'll use. So I'm taking a grid option. So all these layouts we'll use in the coming sessions. So like this, so what are the layout required for us? So we have to go with that particular layout. Okay, so anyway, so right now, so just I will show how to add a properties inside these layouts. Okay, if I take a dynamic layout, so by default you can see a label as default here. So in the default layout, so in the entire page, so we can add any properties here. Okay, you can see drop any number of properties, sections, UI elements or other dynamic layouts. Means again inside this layout, inside the dynamic layout, we can also include other layouts also. For example, see, if you drag the layout inside the dynamic, again you will get some option. Means inside dynamic layout, again we can add dynamic layouts or repeating layouts or column layouts. Okay, first of all, if I selected dynamic option, okay, inside the dynamic, again I can add dynamic layouts. I will tell the reason. So because, see, again why we can add multiple layouts means inside a dynamic, again why we need to add a dynamic means, so for example, if you go to the, okay, I'm deleting this one. So because why, for example, if you want to divide this dynamic layout into 2 parts or 3 grids means, here in the dynamic layout there will be some settings will be there. Okay, means there will be some settings like layout format. So layout format will be default for the auto populated layout, or if you add a new dynamic layout also, it will be default only. If you go to the drop down, there will be some options will be there, like inline grid double, inline grid triple. Means if you want to divide the layout into any number of grids, we can select this option. For example, I want to divide this layout into 2 parts. Okay, I am taking the option as inline grid double. So just select that option, click on OK. So now the layout will get divided into 2 grids. So now I will show you. See, if I directly add a properties inside the grid, now the layout is divided into 2 grids. Now what happens means, now when you add a property name here, so it will add property in the left side, and next property to add in the right side, again left side and right side. So like that we can add properties. So in order to override the issue, for example, if you want to add all the properties in a same row means, I'll tell how to do that one. So first of all, I'll show this scenario. So generally how to use these properties inside the dynamic layout or any other layout. So first of all, I'll show in the dynamic layout. So generally after creating the properties, so just we can use these properties inside a layout here. Okay, inside the section, inside the layout, we can add the property names. So how to add them means, so there are so many options. So first one way I will show you. See, directly we can select the name of the property and drag and drop into the layout here. So how to select the property and how to drag and drop means, for example, see here, if you click on the name of the property and drag and drop, see, no action is performed. Then how to add the properties means, see, before the property names we have some dotted options are there, dots are there, right? Just highlight the, means when you place the pointer in the dots, you will get this arrow. So you can see arrow option here. So when you get that arrow, then select the property and where you want to place that property. So in which position of the layout you want to place, just drag the property. Now property will be added in the left side of this layout because we divide the grid into 2 parts. Okay, inline grid double is there, so left side and right side. Now if you add another property, it will be added in the right side. Then if you add one more property, but I don't want in this format, I want all the properties in a same row I want to add. Okay, in order to add all the properties in a same row, what we can do is, so then inside the dynamic layout, add one more dynamic layout. So once I will delete the properties now. So how to delete an added property means, so just highlight anywhere in the property, means in this text box is there, right? So now property is selected, just click on this delete option. So now property is selected, right? Click on delete option, click on delete. So now what I can do is, so inside the dynamic layout, once again I'm including the dynamic layout. So inside this dynamic layout, so just select the layout, drag and drop inside the dynamic again I'm selecting a dynamic layout, means different templates will be there. Okay, so here in this scenario, so we divide the grid into two parts, left side and right side. So in the left side I'm using the dynamic layout. Now what happens means, now if you include a properties inside this 1.1, all the properties will be in the same row. Okay, previously the grid is divided into two parts but without any layout. Okay, the layout is only one. So but now I'm adding 1.1. now if you try to add properties inside this, so click on this, so select property name. So inside the 1.1 we have to add the property. Now you can see if you add a next property, so it will be below the first name property, so not in the right side of this layout. Okay, like this, according to our requirement we have to design these layouts in a section. Okay, according how we want to design the form and what type of template you want to give. Okay, so accordingly we have to add the properties. Okay, suppose if you want to add any properties, all the properties in the right side also means, so we can include, again we have to include a dynamic layout in the second, in the right side, in the second grid. So again I'm taking a type as dynamic. So now if you want to add any properties in the right side or any other things, not only properties, so in the coming sessions we'll be doing so many things. So anything we can add, we can add a section, we can call any existing sections or any existing dynamic layouts we can call. Okay, so not only this one, we can do anything inside the layouts. Okay, and one more way, so this is one way, directly from the data model property we can drag and drop the properties. I will show the other way. So other way is, next to the layout option we have two menus are there, basic menu and advanced menu. Under the basic menu we'll be having all the basic controls like label. Label means if you want to give any spaces or any messages, we can use this control. Formatted text means like a signature, like a just a formatted text without any control, without any button or anything. Text input means a normal text box, so like this you will get. Text area means a wide area text box you will get. Icon or image means for uploading icons or image into the form we will use this control. So buttons, any number of buttons or any controls if you want to set, we'll use the button option. Checkbox, radio button, link, calendar, drop down, these are all basic controls. And if you go to the advanced menu, so like adding paragraphs, autocomplete, labels, list, charts, data field, menu bars, okay, rich text editor, signature, maps, so these are all some of the advanced controls. Okay, so based on our requirement, so we can also add the controls from here. So similarly, suppose again instead of adding the properties in this way, this time I will show in a different way. So what I will do is, for example, see if I add a city property directly from here, if you remember yesterday for the city property I think we have given some static data, so some static values we have given in the drop down. So by default the city property control is text box only, so it will display as a normal text box. But I will show the other way. So how to display the values in the drop down in the user interface page means, so this time I will show the other format. So in this layout I am showing, see for the city property I want to give a drop down, and in the drop down I want to display all the static values. So what I will do means, go to the basic option. So we have a control called drop down, right? So just drag and drop this control, means so where you want to add that control. So first of all decide, so inside this layout, so this 1.2 layout I am adding. So once again I will show you. See how to add any control means, so I want a control called drop down here in this layout. So just select this control. So this one also we have to drag and drop. I'm dropping inside the 1.2 layout. So here now how to add the property name. Okay, so now go to this settings or properties of this control, drop down control. So now what I will do is I'm going to select the city property for this drop down, because already for the city property we are having some static data is there. Automatically all the values it will display in the drop down for this. So first of all we have something like label here. So by default label is a drop down, right? So use property default is drop down, it is there. So uncheck this option and give your own label. So we are using a city property, so generally use the same property name as the label here. Now if you see the property here, so from the property drop down, if you click on down arrow from your keyboards or click on dot option, see properties will be displayed, will not display autocomplete, means so whenever we click on dot option or from the keyboard, if you click on down arrow, it will display the properties inside this work-sample class. So then what are the property you want to select for this control? Select property name. So here city is the property name I want to add for this drop down. Select the property name city and click on OK. See, these all the things you have to practice. So once practicing, it will be easy for you. So number of times you have to practice all these things. Okay, like this. So we can add a city control. So generally in the runtime you can see the values in the drop down. Okay, now in the or else in the preview form I can show the values. Okay, but in this section I cannot show the directly, you will not get in the drop down, but control is given for the city property. So when you add this particular page inside a flow diagram, so when you execute the case means, so in the Monday session I will show all those things. So we have to configure a case for this, and from the create a case category we have to execute the case. So what are the case we are defining or what are the case we are working, we have to run the case from here. So then so it will display the form and there you can submit the data, and if you want we can map it to the database also. So those things you'll get in the maybe Monday or Tuesday session, you'll get the topic. Okay, so like this, so either you can drag and drop the property from here. Suppose if you directly drag and drop the property, so what by default we are getting a text box, but how to change the control after adding a property, how to change the control means we can change. So the procedure is, so this is one procedure. First of all directly add the control, then change the property name, or add the property then later we can change the control. Anyway, according to your convenience you can do it anyway. See, first of all you can add the control, then add property name, or else add your property, later we can change the control for this. So how to change the control? So here by default for the city property the control is text input. If you want to change it, go to settings. So here we have option called change option. So what type of control you want to give for this property, so we can select from here, go to change option. So here you can see all the input formats will be there. So what type of control you want to add for this property, you can select here. So either autocomplete or checkbox or radio button or drop down. So I'm giving a autocomplete option for this. So autocomplete means what? So automatically in the runtime, so it will populate all the values under the city property. So it's similar to drop down. Drop down means, so from down arrow we have to click. Autocomplete means if you place pointer, automatically it will display the values. So click on OK. Means, so according to requirement, so you can add a control before, later you can add a property, or else after adding the property you can change the control. Okay, for example one more property. So this time gender property is there. For the gender property also we have given a static data. So for that property if you want to add a control means, so we can use radio buttons for that. So under the basic menu you can see the radio buttons control. just drag and drop. Okay, now inside this layout I'm using inside 1.2. First of all I'm adding the control. So when you add this reader button control, by default you'll get like this. So when you add your property name from the settings, so as usual we have to set the label for your property name, and then in the property drop down, so click on down arrow, you can select your property name, click on OK. Okay, so what are the values we have given? So we have given male and female in a static property level for this gender property. So automatically it will display the values for this property in a reader button format. So like this. So properties can be reused. So not only in this application, inside the sample class we can reuse the properties any number of times. So like this. So not only in a dynamic layout, so like this we have different types of layouts are there. Suppose if you take another layout type, so its template will be different but same properties we can add, means not this same. So what are the properties you want to give inside the page or inside the form, so in the same format we can add properties in other layouts also. Okay, if you see, okay, we have another layout in the same page. Suppose if you want to add a properties inside a smart layout, for example smart layout is a fixed template. Smart layouts comes with fixed template here, so label and field option is there, and generally while adding properties, so to the field option we have to drag the property name, because label means it will give the name of the property, in the field option we'll get the text box. So while adding properties, so not in the label, we have to drag and drop the property name in the field option. Okay, let's see one property. Select property name and to the field drag the property. So here you will get the name, here you will get the text box. Now suppose if you want to add more rows, actually, so by default smart layout only 2 rows are added. So if you want to add more properties here, what we can do, so here we have an option called insert row before, insert row after. Suppose if you want to add more rows in the layout, so place anywhere, for example before this property, if you want to add any row means insert row before, or after this property if you want to add any row means insert row after. So like this we have option, or if you want to delete any row means, so just select any particular row, so this is delete row option, we can delete a row. So like this we will have a template, this is a fixed template. So in this way we can add properties inside. Suppose if you want this type of templates means you'll go with smart layout, and we have some other type of template called freeform. So once again I'm adding a new layout. So below the smart layout I'm adding the freeform. So freeform contains, so we can fix our own template, say with any number of rows and any number of columns. Okay, by default it comes with 2 rows and 2 columns. If you want to add any number of rows and any number of columns, suppose see, so here if I select anywhere here, both the rows are highlighted and both columns are highlighted. Suppose if you want to add column means insert column after, if you want to add a row means insert row after, means freeform is like our own template, we can add any number of rows and any number of columns, and anywhere you want to place the property, in the right side or in the middle of the page or in the left corner, where you want to place the properties, so select the property name and drag and drop. For example here in this right corner I want to place my property. So like this we can design our freeform template. So freeform is like we can design our own templates according to our requirement. So but smart is a fixed template, we cannot change the dimensions or number of, we cannot add columns here, only rows will get. Okay, so like this, so we have different types of layout templates will be there, so which is suitable we'll go with the template. again so many things will be there. Not only these layouts, again inside each layout settings, inside each layout we'll get so many present options will be there, like general settings, so presentation settings. So presentation settings will not change, but basically at property level we'll change the settings. So if you go to, for example, if you open any property, again there will be so many options at property level. So here, so labels we can give any placeholders if you want to add any tooltips, or based on the condition within the property we can set conditions also. So whether, so this property should be visible always, or based on the condition only it should display this property. Or if you want to set any field as a mandatory field, so we can set it as a required. And any field, if you want to, if you go to presentation, again there will be so many settings. Suppose any field if you want to set as a read only field, or based on the expression if you want to make it as a read only, we can have edit options. Okay, and we have, so if you want to customize the size of this text box, so by default, so the text box size is auto, right? If you want to customize, we can customize the size of the text box. So width we can do, and minimum character length and maximum character length we can set, and some formats will be there. And more than that, so text alignment, so whether you want to, so display the values, means when end user enter the value in this text box, so whether it should display in the left side or center or right side, so we can give the text alignment. Again, if you go to advanced presentation options, there will be something called inline style editing. Okay, some PEGA contains some predefined styles. So like if you want to change the font of this particular field, okay, if you want to change the style, if you want to change the width of this alignment, borders, okay, colors, background colors, border styles, okay, margins, paddings, so all these options will be there at each property level. So according to our requirement, if you want to set any of these presentation settings or any general settings or general options, so for each property we can set. Or else, apart from this presentation and general settings, again at property level we can set actions. So for each property there will be something called action set, okay, where we can add events. Suppose most of the time, so we can set events for a property and we can set actions. So events will be like this, like on click events, mouse events, keyboard events, some other events will be there. And actions, so whenever we select any value or whenever we click on anything, what type of actions it should perform, like we'll be having so many number of options will be there. Okay, so all these things we'll be learning in this learning process. In the training process we'll be covering all these things, so day by day you'll get all these options. Okay, so like this, so the section plays a major role in the design part. Okay, so once any design in the application will be done from the section rule only. Okay, later we have some other user interface components are there, like flow action, harness, so they are just additions to this page. Means, so after designing the section, so generally if you want to add series of forms inside a flow diagram, means, so generally most of the time, so we'll go with the flow action rule. Okay, now I will save this section. See, after saving this section, so we cannot directly submit the form here, it will only show the preview of the page only, because so once after creating a section rule we have to configure in a flow action rule. Okay, so first of all let me show the preview of this page. If you want to check the preview, means, so click on the preview. Okay, just this is our just a sample thing, so we'll be designing our own things in the next sessions. So generally, so preview will be like this. So but if you want to move forward, suppose if you want to configure this section, what are the page we created, right? If you want to configure this page inside a flow diagram, see that workflow diagrams will be there, or we can also call them as process flow diagrams. If you want to configure these things inside a process flow diagrams, means, so the sequence will be like this. So generally properties, so first of all we'll create a properties, and properties will be added inside a section. Next, after creating a section, these sections we have to add inside a flaction. So what is this flaction? Okay, we know we got some idea about the section. So the purpose of the section is for designing of the form. And after designing this form, so the next step we have, in order to move forward here, and we have to configure this section inside a flaction rule. So what is this flaction? What is its purpose means? So flaction is just a container of section. Flaction is just a container of section. Container means what? So what are the design we created in a section? So we are just copying it inside a flaction rule. So we are just copying the section inside a flaction. But what is the purpose? Why we are copying? Already we have a section. Why we need to copy again inside a flaction means? So the purpose of this flaction is, okay, so the design will be same. So same design we are copying inside a flaction, but the purpose of this flaction is, so it can be used to perform additional actions to this page. So we can add or we can perform additional actions on this page. So additional actions means nothing but here, see, section will concentrate only on the design part. Okay, it will concentrate only on the design part. So but flaction, apart from the, in the flaction, apart from the design, we will concentrate more on business logic and validations. Business logic and validations. So these validations are again page level validations. So in the flaction, so what is the purpose of the flaction means? So it is a copy of a section. So it is a container of a section means, so same design we are adding inside a flaction. Then apart from the design, okay, automatically what are the design we did inside a section? So same design we are adding inside a flaction. And apart from this design, so additional things we will do means, so we are going to define business logic for these properties means inside the page what are the properties we use it, right? So we have used different types of properties. So for all these properties, if you want to define any methods or if you want to define any business logic, so those things we can configure from the flaction rule. So not only business logic, we can also add validations at page level means, so we have a separate rule called validation rule. So at page level we can configure these validations. So these two things can be configured from the flaction, because so it is not possible from the section rule, because we don't have, only design tab is there, so we don't have any validations tab or action tab in the section rule. So that's the reason any such things if you want to configure, like if you want to define business logic and validations means, we have to configure from a flaction only. And if you see how to add a flaction means, again go to user interface rule type. So under that we can define the flaction rule. Okay, and for every section, so if you are creating a section means, so for each section we have to configure a flaction. Okay, if you are creating some 5 sections means, for all the 5 sections we have to configure 5 separate flactions means, for one section there will be one flaction will be there. Okay, if you are creating 10 sections means, you will be adding 10 flactions. Okay, apart from the flaction, we can also sometimes use harness also. So about the harness I will tell you in the coming sessions. It is also similar to the flaction only, but some differences will be there. So what is the difference between flaction and harness, you will get in the coming sessions. So but right now in these sessions, current sessions, so mostly we will use flaction rule. Okay, means whenever we create a section, for every section we have to configure a flaction. Okay, I'll open a flaction and I will show you. So from the sample class, go to user interface rule type. Under this we have a rule called flaction rule. Open this one. Okay, give similar names. So what are the similar name you have given to section? Give a similar name to flaction also. In order to identify only, just to identify easily. Okay, so in here we are having 3 tabs: layout tab, validation tab action tab. Okay, these are other tabs will be there, we will not be using, so those are automatically displayed. We will not use other options. So basically we will use action, validation and layout. Okay, in the layout means what? So by default, what are the section we created? So the same thing we are copying inside a flow action. So design wise, so what are the design we have inside a section? Same thing we are copying inside a flow action. See, apart from the design, so for this section, so we can perform additional actions now. Once after configuring a section here, so we have a validation tab. So and this is not mandatory for every page, means adding section into flow action is mandatory, but this adding validations and actions is if required we will add. Okay, if not required we can skip them, but we will only add the layout, means inside the layout we will configure a section name. But whenever required, in the coming sessions we will see how to define validations at page level and how to add business logic at page level. And in order to add validations, we have a separate rule called validate rule, and for defining the business logic we have a separate rule called activity rule. Okay, we have to configure activity rule separately and we have to call in the drop down. From here we have to call the activity names, means so we are going to configure business logic separately and we have to call it inside the flow action rules. So like this. So here the purpose of the flow action is, so flow action is just a container of a section or a copy of a section with where we can perform additional actions to the same design. Okay, what are the design we are creating inside a section? So the design will be same in the flow action, but we are going to perform additional actions to that page only. Okay, so like this, if you are creating one more section, so again we have to create a flow action for that. Okay, we have to create a separate flow action, means for one section there will be one flow action. So once after configuring this flow action, then we can configure these flow actions inside a process flow diagrams or screen flow diagrams, or just I will tell you, just I will mention as flows right now. In the coming sessions I will tell you again. In the flows we have some different types are there, like process flows, screen flows. So based on that, so what type of flows we are creating in the application, so inside the flow diagrams or inside the flows we are going to configure this flow action name. And inside the flows we will be having some shapes will be there, some predefined shapes will be there. So for each and every, based on the rule type, we'll be having some predefined shapes. Okay, so using, whenever you want to configure a flow action inside a flow diagram, so where you want to place this screen in a flow diagram, so there we have to use that particular shape. So the shape name is assignment, so that one you will get in the next session. So the shape is assignment shape. So whenever you want to configure a flow action, we have to use assignment shape and we have to configure the flow action. So that flows whatever we design, right? So we'll configure from a case. We'll configure the flows from a case. So again, once after saving the case, so we will test. We are developers, so we have to test them. So once we have to test them, so whether when we give the inputs everything is mapping correctly or not. So whether the flow is displaying correctly or not. So there will be some debugging tools will be there. So user interface debugging tools will be there. So server level debugging tools will be there. Input level debugging tools will be there. So based on that, so once after designing the rules in the application, so finally we have to run the case, or from running the flow also we can debug. So either we have to run the flow or run the case and we have to debug the, so we have to enter the values in the form once and we need to debug it once. Okay, so whether the data is mapping to the server or not. So here, so debugging can be done in different ways. Some work class to data class to work class to integration class to data classes, like different formats and different ways will be there. And in order to debug any of these things, we'll be using some tools here. Already I told you. So we have something called toolbars in the bottom of the panel. Means in this home page you can see some toolbars like tracer and clipboard. Okay, we can use these tools most of the time for debugging purposes. So that one I will tell you you will get in the coming sessions when I define the simple application. So then you can, you know how to use this debugging tools inside the application. Okay, so this is okay, this is only the basic introduction. So from the maybe from Tuesday session you will get the practicals on using all these topics. Okay, again, okay, till here any questions on this section and flaction? So till section and flaction any questions, let me know. See, okay, when I complete the cases and flows in the next session you will get the clear understanding. So generally, so section and flaction, so our user interface for design purpose will design. We cannot directly configure a section inside a flow diagram. So actually PEGA contains a tool called modular tool for designing these flows. So generally these are like a UML diagrams will be there, right? So like that PEGA will provide a default tool called modular tool in the application. So using that modular tool, so we can configure the flows here. So flows means I'll open one flow and I'll show you. So generally flows will be containing with different types of shapes. So actually this topic will get in the next session. Just I'll show a sample for that. Actually what the tool I'm opening right now is a modular tool. Okay, so in this all the shapes are predefined. Okay, we will not define any user defined shapes. All the shapes are predefined in the flows here. Okay, accordingly, so anytime means, so the total business transaction will initiate here. So what is the starting initial thing, so what is the next thing it should happen and how it should be completed, the flow will complete. So everything we will configure inside the start and end shapes. Okay, so this is a by default we'll get this shape. So in between this start and end shape we can configure our entire flow, entire process we'll configure inside these shapes. So these are all the shapes you can see. So there will be all these shapes. Assignment, so assignment is the shape used for calling the flaction. See, once after creating a flaction, see this is a flaction, sorry, this is assignment shape. So in the connector properties, so in this connector properties we have to include the name of the flaction. So in detail I'll tell you in next session, don't worry. So just I'm giving a small idea about these flows. So here it will ask you to enter the name of your flaction. So just to configure your flaction name in the flow. Okay, after this if you don't want to give any, so generally we will give more things, so more conditions we will add, more business logic will define everything, so many things will be there. So but directly I'm giving an end shape because every flow will start with a start shape and it will end with a end shape. So now just save this form, save this flow. Actually these flows we have to configure from the case level, that one also I'll show in the next session. So this one I created manually right now. So generally we'll open from the case level, we have to define the stages and step names. From the step we'll generally open the flows, or else we can also create from the application explorer also we can create. And if you want to test it now, just run this flow. Now we will get a form, what are the form we added in this flow, right? So now end user get option to, means in the developer environment means we have to execute compulsory, we need to test whether the page is displaying or not, and we have to submit the data and we need to test also whether the data is mapping to server or not. So means we didn't give any connections, database connections and all we didn't do right now. In the next session we have activity rule. So all the things will be covered, cases, process and activities, these three things will be covered in the next session. Then I will move to the practicals. So combining all these rules, how to perform a simple application, I will show you. Because here see, every rule will be related to some other rule here. So suppose property compulsory we have to relate to the section, section we have to relate to the flaction, flaction we have to relate to the flow diagram. So like this in the coming sessions we'll create activity. So activity rules can be configured in around 10 rules we can configure activity rules, but where we have to configure, at what rule we have to configure, we will be learning inside the applications. Okay, so this is the form we created. So here you will get a submit option also. Once after we enter the data, so we'll get a submit option here. So but we are having some mandatory fields are there, so after submitting the form only we can submit the form. So just a sample one. So I didn't map to any database also right now, so these things we'll see in the next sessions. So when I submit, so but we did not save this data anywhere. So generally if you submit the data, generally it will store in the temporary server. So there is something called clipboard. So in the clipboard this data will be saved temporarily. Again if you run the flow and again if you enter the data, new data means it will erase the previous data and it will update the new data again. So there will be something called, if you want to debug any property values here, there will be some user pages. Under the user pages there will be a default page called PEGA work page. So these all things you'll get in the practical sessions, but here I have given only value for 2 or 3. It will only display those values. So temporarily it is stored in this server. So from this server, the thing is we have to map to the database server. Okay, so temporarily it is stored in the clipboard server. From the clipboard server, these property values we have to map it to the database server. Okay, so don't worry, these things you'll get in the Tuesday session. You'll get, so which scenario you'll get, so how to combine all these rules, so we'll do in a Tuesday session. Okay, so now any issues within this installation issues, anything, anyone is having any installation issues? Yes, tell me. Yeah. Okay, anyway on the Tuesday class you'll get a all review of all these topics again. So because when I do the practical on Tuesday, so we'll again start with the data model. On that session you'll get a review of all these things, because on the day I will combine all these rules. So now individually I'm telling each and every rule. So when I take a session on Tuesday, right, I'm going to combine all these rules. On that day you'll get a review of all these things. Okay, on yeah, can you see this is just, that's what I'm saying. So we cannot relate to directly to practical. So this is just a introduction here. If I directly go, what happens means nobody can understand. So because see here, it is not a, I cannot show a total task or total scenario on each rule, because here in PEGA every rule will be related to some other rule. Suppose if I don't say each and every what are the layouts and what are the things, if I directly design a section and if I directly configure in a flow, can you understand the things? So without explaining all these things, see, you'll get a scenario on Tuesday. If you have any doubts on when I combine all these things, so then you can ask a scenario. Okay, so because I have to complete. Yeah, I got you. See, but it will be see, in a single session on single topic I cannot show the entire scenario what that I'm saying. Okay, so you'll be getting a just I know, I'm handling some hundreds of batches. I know the process actually. Okay, because if you know the just a basic idea of about what is section flaction, then in the next session you'll be getting a introduction to flows and cases and activities. So then I'll show the scenario combining all these things, because every rule will be related to some other rule here. So when I do this scenario, right, so we'll start with the data model creation from the data class. So the sequence will be like this, so which I follows. So then I will create a properties inside a work class. Then we'll be designing a section. Then we'll configure a flag action for the section. Then we have to create an activity rule. So in the activity we'll define the entire business logic using the methods. So then these actions and activities we have to configure from a flow, and these flows we will configure in a case. Then you can understand, it means if I directly go all these things you cannot understand anything. So if you don't know what is section, what is action, what is activity, what is flow, so because if I want to perform a simple scenario also, all these rules are mandatory. Without these rules I cannot do any simple task also. So first of all we'll cover an introduction to these topics. So from by Monday session we'll be covering all these things. So then from the Tuesday session I'll show a scenario. So day by day, from Tuesday, every session will be a practical session only. So then like a project kind of thing, you'll get all the things. Like we'll be doing a flow from there. From that session we'll be doing a flow, entire project flow we'll be doing. So later, so after this, in day by day we'll be adding more things, like adding decision rules. So like then in each session, whenever a decision rule comes, I'll give introduction and I'll do the practicals. So we'll be having a declarative rules, and we'll be having validations, we'll be having reportings, routings will be there, notifications, like this. So for all these things, so this is the basic flow is required. So basic rules are these things. So without adding these things we cannot configure, we cannot go to directly all these things. So basic things are properties creation, section creation, action, flow, activity creation. So these are basic things. Okay, so once if you know these basics, then you can configure, you can go to the advanced things like decision rules, declarative rules, validations, so routings, reportings, notifications and all we can do. Okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah, on Tuesday you'll be getting a total with example. You can understand the entire things. So maybe right now every rule is individually we are discussing. So but on Tuesday session, yeah, it will be easy only here. But the thing is, so meanwhile just to see the options. So what are the rules I'm saying, right? So just to go through those rules. So no need to practice also. Just open the particular rule and see what are all the options we have. Okay, so that practice is compulsory required. So again, if you don't practice means right now not required, till Tuesday class not required, but after Tuesday class, so you have to start practicing. So right now, so if you are install the software means, so just open the tool and just see the options. No need to practice right now. So just to see what are all the options you have in a section, what are all the options we have in a action, what are the, how yesterday we created few properties, we configured a data table. So just to follow those steps. Okay, if you don't get also not a problem. So again we'll be doing combining all these things, we'll be doing a scenario. So then you can start practicals. Then if you have any questions you can ask me. Okay, and okay, no issues. Okay, first of all let me, any issues on installation, because again next session will be on Monday. So by Monday try to complete the installations in your systems. Anybody is not completed means, so Monday means my Monday guys. So IST timings, so it will be Sunday night for US students. Okay, so everyone did the installation, right? Yes, tell me Javed. Yeah, our Monday to Friday, and sometimes I'll take on Saturday also. So maybe this week not possible for me. Yeah, tomorrow no class. So for you again the session, don't get confused about the IST. So maximum I will be taking the IST timings here. So IST timing Monday 6 AM next session will be. Anyway, I will send a detailed mail, and from Monday session you will be getting a new meeting link also. Just check your mails I will be sharing a new meeting link from Monday's session, so just check your mails. Okay, I think I didn't check your email. Okay, send me a test mail once, Pawan. Okay, I will note down the email ID. What is it? Okay. See, everything, there is no LSA role here. Everything is a CSA, CWSA only. So in this training. So even LSA will involve in that. LSA will involve just only in the additional things like integrations only. So these are all the tasks of CSA and CWSA only. See, everything, so there is no such thing like only these things will be done by these things. Some companies, everything will be done by the same person, or in some companies, so only few things will be, like maximum will cover all the things. See, suppose if you are a CWSA level architect, okay, so you will be handling everything. You will be handling data model, you will be handling user interface, process, decision declarative, sysadmin also sometimes. Okay, there is no such thing like how you will do only these things. Okay, so if suppose in a company, so it can be done, everything can be done by the CWSA level architect, okay, or LSA level architect. Okay, so all these things, user interface is a common thing, it will be done by the developers only. CSA, CWSA or LSA, everyone involved in the user interface. Yes, yes, tell me. Yeah, we can add. Yeah, we can add. So just you will place the property. So drag and drop the property. So you'll get a line, orange line you will get, right? So just to arrange the position of the property this. See, when you drag and drop, you'll get a line here. So anywhere you can place the property, anywhere you can place inside a layout. So before the property or after the property you can drag. Just practice those things. Anyway, you'll get in the next session, Tuesday session. If you want to add, just you'll get a line like this. So before the property or after the property. For example, in between first name and last name is, so you'll get a line like this, orange line. Just drag your property. So in between properties also you can add. So all these things you'll get from Tuesday session here. From the Tuesday, all the sessions are practicals only. Then you can ask me any questions. Okay, because right now I only gave introduction to this. Okay, I didn't tell you everything about the section right now. Okay, only I have given the introduction, how to use the properties inside a section and what are the types of layouts I mentioned. Okay, but practically how to work out on these things and how to use them. Okay, we'll be learning from the Tuesday session. Every session from Tuesday will be practicals on. Okay, so by that time just be patient, because we'll be just introduction to flows and activities is completed means then we can move to the practicals. Okay, at least we have to maintain minimum of 2 weeks gap, or else 1 month gap we have to maintain. Yeah, 2 weeks. Actually better if it is at least more than a month, it will be better. So not immediately, at least we have to maintain a gap of month also. Minimum. No, next day they will not take. Yeah. Yeah, I will share. Okay. But those terms, but you must complete, no, at least 50% of the sessions you have to finish. Right now, only preparing a dumps without any knowledge on this tool, you cannot directly write CSA. You have to at least half of the sessions if completed, like basic decision declarative rules validations are completed, you can give a try. But without this knowledge, so only reading the dumps you cannot write, right? So at least, yeah, you must have knowledge also, because tool knowledge is required. Without tool, even the questions in CSA will be theoretical only, like only theoretical questions only will get direct questions. So even though you have to at least have some idea about the tool also, about the rule, how to use that particular rule, okay, how to relate the rule with other rules in the application, we have some basic knowledge must be there. So once after at least 50% of the sessions are finished, then you can prepare them, then only you can give it right. So only directly reading the dumps means it will be difficult, means you don't know the what topic, about the topic you don't know, right? So at least you have to complete the course. Okay, yes, mandatory for PEGA, it is mandatory. Okay, it's CSA is sufficient actually, but if you want, if competition is there, and if you want to means gain more importance, means preference must be given to you, means CWSA is also required. Means if you, that too also based on the experience, if you keep more than 5 years experience on PEGA, relevant experience, and if you want to, means if you want to apply for job, means it's better complete the second level also. Okay, so below 5 years, below like 3 years experience and 3.5 to 4 years means okay, first level is sufficient. But if you want to go with more than 5 years experience means, so better go with CWSA also. First level with the basics, like 10 days knowledge also you can complete, means already, for example, if you, yeah, so because only these things whatever I am discussing, right? So properties, sections, basic theoretical thing only you will get. So very easy. CSA is a very easy. So CWSA, so it's a mix of both technical and practical questions will be there. Topics are same, so it's a, but in a CWSA some practical questions will be there, scenario based questions will get. Yeah, everyone will do the PEGA certification, it's easy only. So CSA, they are only providing very easily, they are not giving tough, because they want more certifications, PEGA systems on more, so they are giving very easily, $155. The same, yeah, same cost. Yeah. The next class, that is on Monday 6 a.m. IST. It will be Sunday night for you students. Okay, so for Monday IST 6 a.m. IST class, you will be getting a new meeting link, guys. Okay, so check your mails before joining the session. And tomorrow no class. Tomorrow no class. Okay. Okay, any questions, guys? Yes, tell me, Santosh. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow, guys. So we'll see on Monday IST, Sunday night for you students. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, bye.